This hero put his life on the line to save his horse from being eaten by a giant snake. After killing the snake, he was shocked to find out that the horse wasn't in there alone. This is the story of a farmer who discovered his horse missing from its stable and went looking for it. He found the enormous snake, almost like something out of Jurassic Park, but instead of running away, he started to fight it, and despite being outnumbered, he managed to kill the snake and save the horse. But when he opened the stable door to check on his horse, he couldn't believe what he saw. The horse had given birth to a foal, and it was safe and sound. It was definitely thanks to the bravery of the farmer that both the mother horse and baby were okay. A man and his horse were best friends. They would do everything together, and no one could break their bond. That is until one day when everything changed. One morning the man got up early to take his horse out into the field, but the horse was nowhere to be seen. At first he thought maybe it just wanted some time alone, so he just let it be. But when he came back with food and water, the horse still wasn't there. He was getting really worried now because the horse never stayed away from him for more than a few hours. It was clear something was wrong. He searched everywhere for the horse, but there was no sign of it. Just as he was about to give up, he saw something strange in the distance. He ran over to get a closer look, and his heart sank when he realized what it was. It was his horse, but it was caught in a net made of vines. To make matters worse, it looked like a huge snake had wrapped itself around the horse, holding it tight so it couldn't escape. This was a terrifying sight, but our hero wasn't going to stand by and watch. He knew he had to do something, but what? As he ran towards the struggling horse, he noticed that the creature holding it wasn't a snake, but a python. And this wasn't any ordinary python. It was one of the biggest ones he'd ever seen in his life. It must have been more than 30 feet long and was as thick as a tree. This was definitely a battle he didn't want to fight, but he had no choice. If he didn't do something quickly, the horse would be dead. But before he could even think about how to defeat such a large and powerful enemy, the python struck. It lunged forward and knocked him off his feet with its massive tail. This was a moment of truth. He knew if he didn't react quickly, the python would crush him to death. But he wasn't going down without a fight. He managed to grab onto the python's tail and hang on for dear life. The two struggled for a few moments, but the python was too strong. It shook its body violently, trying to throw him off. But he held on tight, refusing to give up. Then he remembered the knife he had in his pocket. He pulled it out and plunged it deep into the python's flesh. The python let out a deafening roar and thrashed around wildly. It tried to shake off the pain, but he wouldn't let it. He kept stabbing the python until it finally went limp. With the battle won, he stumbled over to the horse and checked its vitals. It was alive, but barely. The python had squeezed its body so tightly that it had broken its ribs, but miraculously, it was still breathing. He knew he had to act fast if he wanted to save the horse. He called out to it in a soothing voice, trying to calm it down. Slowly but surely, the horse's breathing became more regular and it began to stir. It lifted its head and looked at him with gratitude in its eyes. At that moment, he knew he had saved the horse's life. But his work wasn't done yet. He had to get it back on its feet and lead it back to the farm. It was too injured to walk, so he did the only thing he could. He carried it on his back all the way home. It was a long and arduous journey, but he didn't complain once. He knew that every step he took was bringing him and the horse closer together. When they finally arrived at the farm, he laid the horse down gently and rushed to get some water. It was so thirsty that it drank almost a bucket full in one go. Then he brought in some hay and fed it to the horse. It was too weak to eat much, but he kept bringing it food and water until he was sure it was strong enough to be on its own. Days turned into weeks, and the horse slowly began to heal. Its wounds were still visible, but it was getting stronger every day. And then one day, something amazing happened. The horse gave birth to a beautiful filly. The two were inseparable, and the filly seemed to sense that she was only alive because of the man. It was a joyous occasion, and everyone on the farm celebrated. The man couldn't believe how much the horse had improved. Not only was it alive, but it was also a mother now. He had saved not one, but 2 lives that day. It was a feeling like no other, but he knew he had to remain vigilant. The python may be dead, but there could be other predators lurking in the area. He couldn't risk anything happening to the horse and her foal, so he decided to build a stronger stable for them. He spent weeks working on it, determined to create a safe haven for the animals. Finally, it was complete, and he moved the horse and her foal in. It was big enough to fit the whole family, and the walls were high enough to keep any predator out. From that day on, the man, the horse and her foal lived happily ever after. The horse was no longer afraid of the forest and would often be seen grazing in the fields. The foal grew up to be a beautiful mare, and the three of them remained best friends until the end of their days. The memory of the python never faded, and the man always told the story of his bravery to anyone who would listen. It was a reminder of the dangers that lurked in the forest and the importance of standing up for what's right. In the end, it was the man's courage and determination that saved the horse and her foal. He had faced a giant python and emerged victorious. He had built a stronger stable and ensured the safety of his animals. And he had forged an unbreakable bond with the horse that would last a lifetime. He had faced many challenges in his life, but none as daunting as the day he had to save his horse from the giant python. It had been a battle of strength, skill, and sheer determination, and he had come out on top. He knew that he had been blessed to have such a loyal and courageous companion by his side. The horse had saved his life as well. On that fateful day, it had put its own safety on the line to protect him from the python, and he would never forget that. The thought of losing his horse to the python still sent shivers down his spine. He could remember the terror he had felt as he watched the massive snake constricting its body around the horse. But he had refused to give up. He had fought with every ounce of strength he had and emerged victorious. It had been one of the most challenging experiences of his life, but it had also been one of the most rewarding. He had saved his horse and had forged an unbreakable bond with it. As he looked into the horse's eyes, he saw the gratitude and love it had for him. It was a bond that transcended words, and he knew that no matter what challenges they faced in the future, they would face them together. In the quiet of the evening, as the sun began to set, he would often sit with the horse and her foal in the stable. He would stroke the horse's neck and whisper words of love and appreciation. He would tell her how proud he was of her and how grateful he was for her loyalty and courage. And the horse would nuzzle his hand in response, as if to say, "You're welcome." The bond between the man and the horse was truly special. It was a bond of friendship, loyalty, and love. It was a bond that had been forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the passage of time. And as the years went by, the bond only grew stronger. The horse had taught him the meaning of courage, loyalty, and love. She had shown him what it meant to be brave in the face of danger and to stand up for what's right. He had learned from her and had become a better person because of it. As the years passed, the horse's foal grew into a beautiful young mare, and the bond between her and the man was just as strong as the one her mother had shared with him. He had watched her grow from a helpless newborn foal into a strong and graceful mare, and he had been there for her every step of the way. He had taught her how to be brave, how to be kind, and how to be loyal, and she had listened to him, soaking up his wisdom like a sponge. One day, as the man and the mare were walking through the fields, he felt a sense of pride and contentment wash over him. He looked at the mare and saw in her the embodiment of all the values he had held dear. Throughout his life, he had faced many challenges in his life, but he had overcome them all with the help of the horse and her daughter. Together they had faced the dangers of the forest, the challenges of life, and the pain of loss, and they had emerged stronger because of it. The bond between a man and his horse was a testament to the power of friendship, loyalty, and love. It was a bond that had been forged in the fires of adversity and tempered by the passage of time. And as the years went by, the bond only grew stronger. The horse had taught him the meaning of courage, loyalty, and love. She had shown him what it meant to be brave in the face of danger and to stand up for what's right. He had learned from her and had become a better person because of it.